that Pico Rivera got attention. And honestly, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is why we don't take it to the media right now, because we don't want that negative attention to come back to Pico. But this is where you're pushing us to. You're pushing us to media attention, because what the decisions you make, and I take it, this is the way I look at it, this is like my family. If my husband is gone from my house, my kids are destroyed. I will do my best to step in and take care of them, but they are suffering. And this is what the kids are doing right now. They are suffering, okay? And those decisions were made by you and the board. And so if it's from Salcido, and I've always told the parents, you have to be stronger than that. We have this community to say, if Pico Rivera gets the attention again the way it did, that negative attention, we will be here to support you and say, these are not classes that they're having as anti-American and anti-military. It's not, it's showing them pride to be a better person. All those kids that went and spoke at the board meeting and said, Dr. Vargas changed my life. This was the student who was doing really poorly at El Rancho. That's a life change forever. As long as he stays on the right path, you change the life in that student. There was another student who came up and talked, you remember her, Ashley? And she said her life had been changed also. So they're making all these positive changes. So when you broke this family, I'm sorry, but you have to follow these consequences. And not only do you have to, when Dr. Villon said, oh, well, you're gonna have to go ask your principal what classes you're gonna take. I'm sorry, Mr. Goyenoga should not have that responsibility on his weight, because he's already doing what he needs to do just to become a principal there. So as a board, you have to assist. You have to assist because these decisions were made by you and the board, and you can't just say, I don't know the answers, because you should be looking for the answers right now, and you should be able to tell these students and parents how things will be for their school. They're gonna be in college soon. So yes, they have 2 years, but this should already be in place for them to be coming to school and knowing I'm on target for college, because my classes are gonna be there for me. We all know 11th grade is the most crucial year to apply for college. So you need to assure that. And this has to be, so I wanna know from you, is this from Salcido? Is all this comes from Salcido? Because if that's the true answer, you need to know from us that you know that we had nothing to do with that. This school had nothing to do with that, and we should fight as Latinos, because I'm Latina, to say to the world, although we had a teacher in El Rancho who did this, that's not what Ms. Carrasco did, nor Dr. Vargas. They only fought for their rights and the rights of the kids. And we knew nothing about Unión del Barrio until the board told us. Okay, so this wasn't taught to our kids, nor was it taught to our parents.
I'm going to say that the Salcido incident was not a factor in the decisions that were made at Ellen Ochoa Academy.
Then what was the factor?
The factor is what cannot be discussed openly because of personnel related matters.
Because they stood up for their rights, they stood up for what they believed in and what they were teaching the kids, and we see it already. We see the kids having pride in their culture. And then, you know what, and that's what, if the kids had that, and we've already mentioned this, if the kids had that, they are feeling good about themselves, they're gonna treat you better, they're gonna treat her better, they're gonna treat other people better. And we know that's happening there.
Right, but one thing that I also wanna raise, and it is that these two individuals are not the only ones who can bring that pride in, or bring the awareness in our culture to the students. We have, it was not only that one teacher that raised this pride. We have
but
the whole
the one
teaching
teacher
staff.
had the most experience and who touched kids' lives.
Had the most
And then
influence.
So
changing.
why didn't we just let them finish 4 years to get that base, that boundary? That's all. Just ask for 4 years. Couldn't there have been some kind of recommendation and just say, you know what, we didn't agree to what you were teaching here, and this is how we're gonna take it from now on? Couldn't there be that? And just finish the 4 years and eat it up for right now. Eat it up for the kids. Eat it up in terms of like, you know what, okay, we don't like what they're doing over there, but let's let the kids have their 4 years, because you know Dr. Vargas made a big impact on those students. And like I said, he was it's hard, I don't want to say like a father figure, but he was the leader who helped them be community, because that's what it is. Ellen Ochoa is a community, and you don't see that at El Rancho. I'm pretty sure you don't see it with the majority of the people. You probably see it in your little cliques, the students that are doing well, the students that, but you don't see it as this is our community, and this is what they saw, the community coming together, supporting each other.
A safe
All
community.
students were supported.
And again, you're bringing up words that I really can't respond to. Recommendation, that is personnel related. that I can't even, I can't comment.
So
Personnel
what can you
related,
comment
everything,
on?
all I can say is that everything has a process, everyone has due process, and that's all I'm gonna leave it at that. There are matters that cannot, it's the confidentiality issue, it is a privacy issue, that some things just cannot be openly discussed.
But do you know that?
Because what the information that you have is what could publicly be stated, but there is information that must remain private.
Well, I think right now you need to hold it upon yourself that you owe it to all the kids at Ellen Ochoa to be safe and to be feeling comfortable going to school and not having all these emotional issues. And although we'll say, okay, it's emotional, it's not academic, it doesn't matter, emotional affects academic.
Of course it
So
does.
I think you need to take it upon you as a responsibility that you need to make sure that these kids continue to do well and not, let that affect their school. It has to be.
So going back to what Delphina
Yes.
said, we don't have a set ethnic studies teacher now at the Ellen Ochoa Prep Academy. Ethnic studies is an 8 through 3 requirement. I was, by the prior meeting, Angelada 4 had informed us that we're gonna have to follow Mata's curriculum. As I know, Mata has no ethnic studies background. And she spoke at the last meeting where all parents went, saying that European history is just as important as our history. And I know you guys from the prior meeting, I spoke on how my mom was born here, my dad came here illegally. I was ashamed of being Mexican, ashamed. I hated myself until last year, until I met Carrasco, beautiful woman inside and out, mentally, physically. She brought that pride to me. She taught me my background, 16 years, 15 years learning European history. I have no ties to European history. And for Mata to say that European, I agree, every history is important, equally important, but to say that European, that's all we focus on through our whole high school, middle school, elementary education. It's just frustrating knowing that we have to follow her curriculum. One, she called our school racist. Racist. How are we going to be racist? Like, it's just so frustrating. Two, no ethnic studies background. How do you put that much power into someone that has no requirements to that position? And that's the problem with this district. De La O was appointed. She has, that's what.
And then another thing is that you keep saying that you can't mention the factors and their removal, but when we spoke, you guys brought up these political groups. Like, what was the point of that when we had never mentioned anything relating to Union del Barrio? So it's really, so you guys just like put these assumptions in our head, like, oh, it was politically motivated. So how are you gonna tell me that? You can't tell me the factors when you guys are letting us make these assumptions when you're bringing up these political groups. You get me?
I understand you. There was no political influence in the decisions that were made.
We have video that shows otherwise.
Yeah, because
Every individual has a right to uphold their own philosophies and ideologies.
of course.
That didn't factor into the decisions that
It
were
seemed
made.
like that was the only thing that factored in as far as what the meetings were concerned.
Especially at the board meeting when Ms. Villon called on Mr. Lara for being part of La Unión del Barrio.
Why
Like,
do
That was
that?
never taught at basic school. That was
Like
never taught.
that had nothing to do with what we were speaking about, and that had nothing to do with why he chimed into our speeches.
Right, but let's stay focused on the conversation. It was not politically motivated. The decisions that were made were based on the expectations that are set forth and
Decisions that you made, not
well, but decisions
Yeah,
that were,
the
the
three.
recommendation that was brought
Right.
forth, the recommendation
yeah.
that was brought forth was based on what had, I can't get into, I have to be very careful with what I say
Right.
because I don't want to
Sure.
violate any personnel
Sure.
issues here, especially because it's videotape and I don't want my words taken out of context.
You want us to
wait,
stop?
wait,
can I mention
That's what we
something?
want. We want
Just
to
mention
know.
something real quick?
No, yes.
entirely for me. I have diagnosed memory problems.
No,
That's all.
No, but what I'm
I
saying
just
is,
want you to feel
know,
comfortable.
I don't wanna go down that line about
Yeah.
personnel and the reasons
Yeah,
why.
no. It's just you mentioned it
We can
before.
always
You know,
help
and legally,
accountable for our
we
decisions.
can, you know, so this is why, vacillating here in terms of, you know, I don't wanna say anything that I should not, that's why I have to be very careful.
Sure.
Yes,
Ok, ya tenemos más de un mes con esto, ¿sí? Yo ya estoy hasta aquí, ¿sí? Mi hija, I'm sorry, ¿sí? Mi hija, desde el primer meeting que tuvieron, cuando supieron que Mr. Vargas iba a ir, ella lloró ahí, ¿sí? Y nadie de ustedes que estuvieron en la mesa fueron para parar a toda la gente que se estaba burlando de ella, ¿sí? Nadie, ¿sí? Y ella se estresa tanto porque ella es la que está ahí, ¿sí? Y yo ya estoy harta, ¿por qué? Porque yo no sé qué va a pasar el año que viene, ¿sí? Si ella va a continuar ahí o no. Porque ella desde el primer momento que me dijo que Mr. Vargas iba a ir, me voy de la escuela, ¿sí? Porque no está la persona que yo confío. No está, si Mr. Vargas se va, Miss Martínez también se va. Son las personas con las que ella confía, ¿sí? Son las personas que la hicieron ir a esa escuela. ¿Por qué? Porque es una mejor escuela y mucha gente alrededor viene a esa escuela. ¿Qué va a pasar cuando empiece el año escolar y sepa que tal vez los programas que ustedes están prometiendo no van a estar? ¿Sí? ¿Qué va a pasar? Los van a decepcionar. ¿Por qué? Porque ellos vienen a una escuela mejor, ¿sí? A una ciudad diferente, ¿sí? Mi hija se estresa mucho, ¿sí? Igual que todos los estudiantes están. Ella es de llorar, estar viendo qué va a hacer, qué va a decir, qué va a ser el siguiente paso, ¿sí? Y uno como madre los está apoyando. Pero si ellos no hubieran empezado con ese primer meeting que ustedes tuvieron, ninguno de nosotros hubiéramos sabido qué está pasando en la escuela, porque ustedes no fueron para informar, ¿sabe qué? Esto está pasando con su escuela, o esto va a pasar para el año que entra, ¿sí? Ustedes no hicieron esto. Ustedes, porque son ustedes el miembro escolar y todo, ustedes se creen el derecho de cambiar de la vida de los estudiantes, ¿sí? Y se las están cambiando, ¿sí? A ellas les faltan 2 años, son la primera generación de una escuela magna, de una escuela mejor. ¿Y qué es lo que está pasando? Les están destruyendo sus sueños, les están afectando sus vacaciones desde antes de que terminara el año escolar, ¿sí? Entonces, ¿qué vamos a esperar? Al primer día de escuela para ver si tienen los suficientes maestros que necesitan para seguir adelante o no. Nosotros estamos haciendo todo esto bien, ordenadamente, juntas, miren. No hemos querido irnos a hacer protestas como muchos lo hacen. Pero si ustedes nos dan a escoger, si ustedes no nos dan una solución a lo que están planteando los estudiantes, es lo que vamos a tener que hacer, ¿sí? Y no queremos, ¿por qué? Porque es nuestra comunidad, es nuestra escuela, ¿sí? Pero ya basta de platicar, ya basta de decir es que no puedo, es que es. Ustedes tienen la solución, así como removieron a Mr. Vargas, como removieron a Miss Carranzo, ¿sí? Así tienen la solución ustedes. ¿Por qué? Porque uno se las está dando. En las votaciones a uno se las está dando a ustedes, a cada uno. Pero si ustedes no nos sirven a nosotros no los vamos a servir a ustedes, ¿sí? Ustedes están ahí por nosotros.
y eso tiene razón. Yo estoy aquí por ustedes, por los votantes. Para aclarar lo que usted acaba de decir sobre el comienzo del año que entra, le voy a dar la palabra al superintendente, porque él es el que sabe cómo está ahorita el personal, how the progress is in terms of who's going to be there. And so I'm going to give hand the meeting right now to Mr. Aguilera Ford, because he has, as I stated before, the information that I don't have because I'm not there on the day-to-day
Sure.
changes.
So, buenos dias, good morning again. There are a few pieces, and I'll try to go somehow in a sequential way based on what I have heard. As I stated, the previous meeting last week exactly that I had with you, Mr. Goyenaga has experience in high school, in middle school, and in elementary school.
Okay,
And may I finish? Thank you. He has been an administrator actually at the high school level. From being an administrator at the high school level, he became an administrator at the middle school level, and then became administrator at the elementary school level. That makes his experience very, very wide, holistic, and deep, because he knows all the three levels of our educational system and has worked as a teacher and as an administrator. So that one, just to make sure that people know that the principal that is coming has the credentials, has the experience, and is completely 100% qualified. That's number one. Number two, I also stated last meeting that his IB certification is in progress. As soon as he was assigned to be the principal of Ellen Ochoa Preparatory, he actually is enrolled. And his enrollment will not jeopardize the IB credentialing process of the school. Actually, as long as he is in the process, he is. The organization IB will work with us. Okay? So that's number two. The other piece that I heard was related to the curriculum of Miss Mata. There is not such a thing as Miss Mata curriculum. There is the Rancho Unified School District curriculum. And there is a Rancho Unified Curriculum Council for all the different content areas. Happens that ethnic studies is one of those areas. And there is a curriculum council that Ms. Cardenas last week spoke with you about it and explained that there is a team of teachers across the different schools that have been and will be part of that. So it's not Ms. Mata's curriculum. No teacher on his or her own owns a curriculum. Whatever we need and we must teach in our classrooms and in our schools has to be district approved and vetted by the different curriculum councils. Again, ethnic studies is one of those councils. Number four, what will happen and what will be my classes? Actually, the three high schools right now are preparing and finalizing the schedules. Every single student, when they come back, will have access to, across the schools, will have access to his, her schedule, his, her classes, and they will know exactly the first day of school, what they are supposed to be taking. So it's not like you are in a unique position. Every single high school right now is fine-tuning the master schedule. So they know what classes every single student at the high school level from 9 to 12 will be taking at the different schools. So that's a process across the board. Teachers for Ellen Ochoa Prep. I also explained last week that we have gone through the hiring process, and we now, after the hiring process, we are working with, I don't remember her name, we call Bibi, the council.
Martinez.
Miss Martinez, okay, I have to learn her last name, but I. So with Miss Martinez, she has been very, very supportive during this transition. And she has been working with Mr. Goyenaga and Miss Cardenas in terms of looking at all the master schedules, all the IB classes, all the ethnic studies pieces. All of those are actually yesterday. To be even more concrete, I had a conversation with Ms. Cardenas about that, and it's happening. So, and Ms. Martinez will stay there working for you and for the school and with you and with the families. So that is in place now, is happening. The other piece that I also want to highlight is related to the entire school and the work that we are committed to do at the social emotional level. Last week I was asked, what about counselors? We need counselors. And I think, I don't know who Ms. Dora Soto Delgado checked in with on Wednesday. And she actually said, you know what? One of the requests is not to wait until the first day of school, but one of the requests is how can we have a group of kids with our counselors before the beginning of the school year, before the first day. So kids can actually get to know the counselor mental health counselor, that will be supporting you through this transition process. And again, we don't want to just say you don't have the right to feel the way you feel. As I stated before, I am not in your shoes. We are not in your shoes, and we cannot pretend that we know exactly what and how you feel. What we can tell you is we are committed to working and supporting you from now on. And I also want to disclose this information because now it's public. Dr. Vargas left the district. So I also want to disclose that because it's known. So it's public, it's official. So I want to let you know officially Dr. Vargas is not any longer with us. And as I stated before, even if he had stayed, the decision was made that he needed to be at a different school. And we needed him at STEAM as soon as STEAM lost its principal. And again, the qualifications and the work that he did at STEAM, as I stated last week, made us feel, and I personally believe that he was needed at that given moment there. And that's why I made the recommendation to the board. And I know that I am not given the responses that you perhaps are hoping or think are the right responses. I acknowledge that. But
And you know that we acknowledge that was
Are you done?
let me close.
Summarize.
Yeah, let
I'm
me
gonna say
close.
something.
Yeah, let me close. So, in summary, I explained here are the key pieces. And the one last, legally, we have to protect the personnel related matters with each individual, regardless what they have done or what we think they have or they have not. Legally, we cannot disclose any information related to why people are transferred, removed, recommended for dismissal. Legally, we can't. We are prohibited to do that. In summary, we want to work with you. And I know that right now it's hard to believe. But we will continue our commitment to be working with you and to make sure that the certification of the school is in place and that every single student at Ellen Ochoa Prep get and receive the classes that you are supposed to be receiving. I finish.
Okay, I haven't said anything all because I'm trying